Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be creating some kitchen decor and organization DIYs using Dollar Tree items. Let's go ahead and get started on project number 1. For this project you will need 3 of these signs from Dollar Tree, but you can also find these at Family Dollar. They usually have these out for just about every season. Remove the tags from the inside and sand the glue off. I went ahead and sanded the outside edges as well to make sure that it didn't have any of the excess paper hanging off. You're going to take one with the flat side up. You're going to take the other one and place the flat side down. We're going to attach these two together using some E6000, and then I added a little bit of hot glue on each end for a temporary hold. Line everything up and press really firmly to make sure it has a good, strong hold. Then we're going to take that front piece, we'll be attaching it to the bottom front of the two pieces we just put together with the same glue. Once you have that lined up, press really firmly on all the sides to make sure everything attaches, and it should be looking something like this. Now you can paint this whatever color you like. I'm going to paint mine with 2 coats of white chalk paint, the entire piece, inside and out. Now I am going to be distressing mine, so I didn't worry about the top edges and getting full coverage on that, but I did make sure I painted the back as well as the bottom. I just like for everything to be nice and finished. Now to distress, I'm using some antique wax. I'm going to dry brush very lightly around the tops of both of the openings on these boxes, as well as the outside edges. So if you don't like distressing, you can certainly skip this part, and by all means paint it whatever color you like. Now once it dries, I have created a decal to go on the front of this. And of course, not everyone has a Cricut, so I do have this as a free printable on my website. The link to my website is in my description box below. These signs are the perfect fit for any of your favorite spices. Using 2 of Dollar Tree's decorative trays, the smallest ones, I created labels to go in the front, and the color was already perfect. And these glass jar containers from Dollar Tree fit perfectly in there. So I'm going to fill mine up with oil and vinegar and then put my favorite spices. You can put this as a grouping together, or you can keep them separately, but this is just a beautiful way to organize your spices and oil and vinegar. Let me know what you think of project number 1. For our second project, we're starting off with 7 of the tumbling tower pieces and a square edge. I'm going to line these up so that I can create a block with these 7 pieces. I'm attaching them using Gorilla Wood glue. So you're just going to put one edge flat square into the inside square, and then we will attach the other 3 to each other and to that one. And it'll make a little more sense here in just a minute. So you just want to, I'm using the square to make sure everything stays straight and flat. We'll attach those 3 together, and then it is attached to the end piece. And then we're going to attach the other 3 together and attach that to those 3 pieces. And then wipe any excess glue off that oozes out from the sides, and then we're going to take 7 more tumbling tower pieces and create the exact same set, but we're going to flip it over where we start off with the 3 on this side and then you have the 1 on the end. It's just going to give it more of a secure hold. Wipe all your excess glue off and then set it to the side and let it dry. So it's going to look somewhat like this. Using the square wood planks from Dollar Tree, I'm going to use 2 of those that come in a pack of 6, as well as some regular craft sticks from Dollar Tree. Now these aren't long enough to go all the way across the top of our square. I'm using my handheld miter shears. I have this in my Amazon store, and that link is in my description box below if you are interested in one of these. You can cut these down, 2 of these down straight and line them up that way, but I feel like if you cut it at an angle, it makes it a little bit more seamless of a look. So I just adjusted my miter shears to cut it at an angle, and I'm going to cut the 2 end pieces at the same angle so that when I match them together, to me it just seems a little more seamless than if they're straight up and down. So once I know my angles, I am going to make a mark at the edge of each side of the square so I can cut those straight down. Once I have those cut and I know that everything's going to line up end to end on our square, you're going to want to create another set of 3. So you're going to want another one for the top of this one and then the top and bottom of that. And you can use those as a template to cut those out. Once I have all of those cut out, I'm going to very lightly go over these with sandpaper to make sure all the edges are smooth, and then I can attach them using hot glue. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the tops and bottoms on both of these square planks, making sure they are flush to the outside edges. Then for our side pieces, the craft sticks will be long enough that we will only have to use one of those on each side. So I'm just going to cut the rounded tip off of one of the ends, and then I can hold that in place to make my mark to know where to cut it so that it will sit flush in between the pieces that we've already glued down. Once I know that they're going to fit, then I'll glue them down. I always like to test it to make sure it's going to fit properly before gluing it down, and I'll do that for all of the sides. So now we have this beautiful trim work around both of the planks. Now we can create our cross pieces in the middle. Again, we're going to need to use 2 craft sticks because they are not long enough to go all the way across. So I'm going to line the 2 overlapping each other, and then I can make the marks for my angles in the corners as well as the mark on one of the sticks in the middle. So I'm just using our outside edges there in the corners as a guide for me to draw these angles out, and then I can use my handheld miter shears to cut each of those angles. Then I can place these back into the inside corners of our frame, and then I'm going to lay the whole stick on the bottom and the angle that I cut on the top so I can make a mark so I'll know where to cut this one down so that both of those angles will meet perfectly in the middle. Once again, I line it up to make sure everything's going to be straight and fit before I glue it down. And then once those are glued in place, you can create the other side of our cross by doing the exact same thing. You'll hold one of them up to the top corner, make your angle, and then go ahead and cut that out. Then you can hold it into the angle and make your mark where you need to cut it so that it will sit flush with the cross that's already in there. And then go ahead and repeat this for the other end, making sure everything's going to line up straight as you go across. And then once you get all those cuts made, lay it out. Make sure that your X or cross now looks even all the way across. And then you can glue that down. And I'm going to repeat this exact same process for our other wood plank. So it should be looking like this. It's just so cute. I love this barn door look. I hope you guys like it too. Once I have the other one done, I am going to go over it with some sandpaper to make sure all the edges are smooth, but also to remove any of the hot glue strands that may have appeared as we were gluing these on. I also went over the wood block that we created from the tumbling tower pieces. Now you can stain it. You can paint it whatever color you like, but I do like to paint a lot of stuff white because my kitchen cabinets are dark and I like the pops of white to kind of play off of the darkness in my kitchen. Now you can leave it just like this, but I'm going to distress mine a little bit with some antique wax going around all of the edges, including the cross or X right there in the middle. And I did make sure I painted the back side of these and the entire block that we created from the tumbling tower pieces, because you will be able to see the back side of our planks here. So if you haven't guessed already, we are making a napkin holder. I'm going to flip it over to the side, and I'm using E6000 since now this is painted, it's not bare wood. I'm going to use E6000 and a little bit of hot glue to hold it temporarily. Then I can set that piece up, making sure it's flush to the outside edges as well as the bottom. And then once that hot glue sets, if you have any of the E6000 come out, make sure you wipe that off. Then we can flip it around and we can attach the other side using the same method, putting that E6000 and hot glue on the sides. And then once you attach this and you let your glue set up, this project's finished. It is so pretty. I love this cute napkin holder, and it holds quite a few napkins. It looks really well with our oil and vinegar little decorative trays, or it looks great by itself. I think this would be beautiful on a tier tray or a Lazy Susan. What do you think? If you're enjoying today's projects and you haven't done so already, I would love for you to become a part of our community by clicking on the subscribe button below this video. To all my current subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you'd like to visit me on my other social media accounts, all the links are in my description box below. Speaking of Lazy Susan, let's use one of Dollar Tree's planter trolleys. Remove all of the labels as well as the wheels from the bottom, and they pop right out. Set those to the side, and we're also going to be using one of Dollar Tree's stove burner covers. They come 2 in a pack. We're going to use the largest one out of the 2 for this project. I'm going to take mine outside and give them 2 coats of spray paint in the color matte white. I started off by spraying the bottom of the trolley and the inside of the burner cover. Then you'll flip that over. I'm going to get the outside edge of the burner cover and the inside edge and rim of the trolley. So once you're finished with those 2 coats, it'll look something like this. You don't necessarily need to cover the inside bottom of the trolley, but you do want to make sure you get those outside edges on your burner cover. Now I'm going to distress mine a little bit using some antique wax and a chip brush from Dollar Tree. And you can distress it as much or as little as you like, or you could even paint this project an entirely different color. So I kind of heavily distressed mine to get a wood grain effect look, especially on the burner cover, the inside of that. I wanted it to look like wood grain and lines. Now let that completely dry, and then you can pop your wheels back into the bottom of your trolley, and they just pop in super easy. Now I'm going to use some of Dollar Tree's pearl beads. They come 80 in a pack, and they are the perfect size for this project. I put about 30 to 35 in that outside piece that kind of divots down. And once you have those in place, you can take your stove burner cover and just set it right inside, and now it rotates on the inside of your trolley. So you can put this on your table or your counter, and not only will you have a Lazy Susan that rotates on the inside, but you can slide it back and forth across your table or your countertop. Let me know what you think of this project. For our last project, we're using one of Dollar Tree's cutting board signs. I used my staple remover to remove those thumbtacks. I have this listed in my Amazon store, and my Amazon link is in my description box below if you are interested in one of those. I took some sandpaper and went around those outside edges because they were pretty rough. And then I'm going to take some white chalk paint. And after the second coat, I realized that some of the lettering on the sign was sort of indented, and I didn't like that. So I decided to go ahead and remove the paper from the front. And that was fairly easy to remove. Then I took some sandpaper and went over the entire front of this to remove some of that extra paper. It did still leave some texture to it, but that's okay. I cleaned all that debris up, and then I gave it 2 coats of my white chalk paint, and that gave me a much better finish that I was looking for. So once that completely dries, because this is going to be in a kitchen, I'm going to apply a coat of matte Mod Podge to not only the sign in the front, but as well as the backing. So I want to keep that backing, that wood grain look. So I'm going to go over that with a thin layer of Mod Podge just in case moisture gets on it. It will protect and seal this sign in. And I did allow that Mod Podge to dry for several hours. I created a decal to go on the front of the sign, and I found this beautiful design on Cricut Design Space in their Access subscription. So if you have Cricut Design Space access, then you can go in and get this beautiful decal, and the center of it is blank. So I added the word recipes in there, but how beautiful would that be to add your last name or someone else's last name and give this as a gift? Now, if you don't have a Cricut, I have this as a free printable on my website, and the link to my website is in my description box below. You can print this out in PDF and attach it to your project with some Mod Podge, or you can transfer it and trace it out onto your project. Because the thumbtacks were not in the outside corners originally on the Dollar Tree sign, I did add those back, and I did use my hammer just to hammer those in to create new holes. Now you can set this on one of Dollar Tree's picture holders, place it to the back, and this is the perfect size to hold a cookbook, a recipe, or even your tablet or iPad. And it's such a beautiful piece that you can leave out on your counter all the time. So you guys, if you have a favorite out of today's video, please let me know in the comments section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.